Hi, welcome to Looking Through the Glass. Today we have, well, of course, always Sela and Giselle. And today we have Pamela. I said it right the first time. Let's see if I can do it again. Michaux, right?
Yes, perfect.
Proud of me. Now, Pamela, you have a book that you have written based on your story, correct?
That's correct. It's about my childhood. It's part one. And I bring you back and to from the beginning, basically, because we all are marked by our childhood and it follows us into our adulthood. And my story, I had to realize that what am I doing wrong in terms of repeating the same cycles? So I had to dig back into my childhood and say, like, some things were so hard. I start wiping, removing, deleting memories. So it wasn't the memory loss. It's basically my brain who was protecting me during all the traumas I endured and was wiping out part of my life. But the problem with that was that even the good things happening to me, I start wiping them as well out. And I arrived to a point where my son one day told me, Mom, you're so strong. I want to be like you. And I sat down and I say, Mommy has also days where she's not really good. I'm a single mother. And I had to explain to my son, I say, it's okay not to be okay. So that gave me actually the push and the courage to write about it and say, if my son thinks that I am so strong, I don't cry, and I'm like Wonder Woman, because that's what I was portraying to him. I was showing him that I was Wonder Woman. While most nights, even during my divorce, I was crying and sitting by myself and just holding things together. So I said, I have a responsibility to go back into my childhood and like you peeling. When you peel an onion, you have layers
Mm-hmm.
like peeling, yes, like peeling my life back into the source. And it was very frightening because imagine most of your memories gone, but it's actually not gone. It's your brain protecting you. I saw psychologists, hypnos. I mean, I went to so many different specialists, trauma specialists. Some of them literally told me when I started telling my story, sometimes the brain do that to protect you, and maybe it's better you leave it like this. And I was like, but you are the specialist, and I'm coming here to ask you for help. I prefer you to tell me I can't help you than telling me it's better to leave it like this. Because even in my dreams, I had memories coming back up. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest um, turning point was writing. And I remember even as a child, I was writing and keeping a journal. And from there, my book is called Mundele Diaries. Mundele in my mother tongue, Lingala, because I was born in Congo, means white. Imagine being, I mean, you obviously can see I'm not white, I'm not black, but in Congo, I was the white child. And
Okay.
when I went to Europe, in Belgium, I became the black child. So I wrote Mundele Diaries as the journal of the white journal, but it also has a double meaning. It's also something new. A journal, it's like you keep track of your life and your story. And when I had to start from the beginning, as writing a book, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, you start like anything that comes up. And going to psychologists, speaking about it, there is no shame. People are like, oh, there is something wrong with me. I go see a psychologist. You often even don't even tell your friends or not even share out of shame, out of guilt. No, there is nothing wrong seeing a psychologist. I am very strong, but I needed help. So I went back to my childhood, and that's where I started discovering abuse. Sometimes I was asking myself, is my mind playing up? And I had to check with family members. I went back to Africa because when I was born in Congo, I stayed there till age of 7. And my mother, because there was a conflict between Hutsi and Tutsi, later on it was called the genocide. The
Yes.
tension was rising. So it was massive, I mean, people seen it in the news, but I was
Yes.
actually
I remember.
there when yes, it was rising. I mean, neighbors starting to kill each other, the insecurity back in Kinshasa. And my mother said, I want my daughter, the oldest, because she begged my father. My father is white and has European passport, begged him. And I already found it strange. I said, why, as your wife, you have to beg for the safety of your children? Because in the end
Yeah.
of the day, he was also my father. And you will understand bit by bit, you start putting the pieces together. My father wasn't a very loving father. So from 0 to 7, when I lived in Congo, my mother used to travel and drive big trucks doing import and export. As an African woman, there were places where my father couldn't go and drive there because it was too dangerous for a white man to go
Mhm.
deep in the jungle with massive trucks, merchandise. It goes from food to tires. And so she was leaving me. Then a year later, my brother was born, and 5 years later, my sister was born. Me with my father and my grandmother. You have to understand, my father started gambling and drinking a lot. And, he wasn't the example like the ideal father. I mean, there is not such thing as an ideal mother or an ideal father, but not a very loving father. So my grandmother used to stay with us because African community, you're raised like family is important. What
Yes.
is also another layer into your self development because you are put into this world where it says the family is everything. And by growing up bit by bit, I say like, this something is wrong here. This is not right. This is not what I was told to. So even as a child, I started saying, this is wrong. This is good because you being compared by you being compared, you start comparing as well because you copy the example. And so they sent me first to Belgium. And I remember the first time, I mean, imagine Africa, it's warm, you have the color, music, the culture is totally different. And every Sunday we used to go to church because my mother was religious, my grandmother was religious. So I remember walking out of the plane and stepping my feet. And it was in December. I remember so well. My feet already sank into the snow. And I looked up and I said, wow, God blessed me. Because it was the first time at age of 7 seeing snow. It was for me a miracle.
Yeah.
Then there was my aunt, and so on my father's side, who was blonde, blue eyes. So coming in a country where everyone is black, going to a country where everyone is white. And my aunt and uncle, in the beginning, sometimes you go into a room or to a place or you meet someone and your body is saying something is wrong. It's
Mhm.
like your body knows before your mind even can put words to it.
Yes.
And anyone that listen, wherever you are, and that it's someone that comes through family or whoever you feel there is something wrong, 99.9% there is something wrong with that person or that place.
Yes.
And I felt like there is something wrong. I endured sexual abuse from my father. I in Belgium because I was then put away from my mother, and my aunt over there start pimping me out because there is actually a word for it. She used to put me because she was very
At the age of
infidelity.
7?
Excuse me?
At the age of 7?
It started with her from the age of 8.5, like 8.5. She started putting me with men, and because my sister then arrived, so she had a leverage on me. If you don't do this, I will bring your sister. And you
My
have
goodness.
to don't speak. So that's why I said silence feels safer than speaking.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, even as an adult, you carry these things on. And actually, the silence, you do so much wrong because you're protecting the ones that hurt you. Example for my father case, he abused over 36 women that came forward after me writing the book. Some of them are his sisters. Others are even my mother's sisters because my mother passed away after. And when they heard me speaking, they said, Pam, this also happened to me. So imagine it took me 40 years, because I'm 40 now, to speak up and actually put it into the light like this happened to me. I don't want this to happen to anyone else. So whatever abuse you're going through, that it's physical, emotional, sexual abuse, that's also physical, don't hold. If you don't speak up, you are protecting the one who's hurting. And
Hmm.
it can start with you, but it can also end with you. And
Yeah.
very often it's something that is passed by generation because my father was also abused. I learned this while writing the book. And you can say the harm that it puts you through, how come, you don't make a stop? You need to be strong and brave for that.
Most definitely.
Because often sexual offenders, if you look in the
Turn in.
history, they had difficult childhood, being abused, and instead of saying it's going to end with me, they repeat.
They continue the process. They continue the trauma.
They continue the trauma. And being raised, example, with violence at age of, so from age of 7 till 8 and a half, as a child, you can't help. I should stop doing that because I'm 40 now. But from age of 7 till 8 and a half, I was alone in the house in Belgium. So my father stayed there for 2 weeks and a half. Then he left back to the Congo. And I stayed with my aunt. I had to work every weekend, the holidays. Little by little, the first 2 weeks, you had the heater in the room. Then the heater disappeared. I had hot chocolate milk in the beginning. Then I had to drink black coffee without milk. So bit by bit, she was reducing. I was the night showers, like proper showers. I had to go in a well, pump water in the garden, bring it, heat it up to be able to wash myself while they had a comfortable bathroom. I had to
Wow.
clean the house, start cooking for them. She even gave me a clock. I was so excited. She said, I have a present for you. And I was super excited. I say, yeah, what is it? It was a clock. She said, like this, I don't have to wake you up anymore. You can wake up, you can prepare the table. So I had a whole program. I was basically her slave, her servant,
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
her bed.
I was gonna say you were like she just took advantage of you being. Yeah.
She
She was
groomed
gonna.
me. Basically,
Yeah.
she groomed me like she would go cheat on her husband, leave me in cafes with a man. Imagine, I mean, drunk man and a young girl.
Yeah.
Imagine what kind of things you hear and see or touch, and you know and bit by bit it got worse and worse. So a year and a half later, when I was in Belgium, my sister and my brother arrived. So I thought my mother will be there as well. It was my mother's sister who arrived with my brother and sister. And of course, I was happy to see my aunt, but I wasn't happy to see her. I wanted to have my mother because
Yeah.
these things wouldn't have happened when my mother was there. And little did I know that my father was having a divorce with my mom. And so she negotiated for her sister to come because my mother had another child before me. I'm the eldest from my father and my mother. And then I have my brother and my sister. So she had a child before, and she wanted to make sure that she could also bring her other son. So she sent her sister to find a house. And the horrible thing that happened, that is what is really crazy, is my aunt on my mother's side, on my mother's sister, she was sleeping in my other aunt's, so my father sister house, who was opposite of the abusive aunt. And everyone in the family knew how that aunt was. In front of people, she would dress her up like amazing and everything, drive a Mercedes, big house, but behind the closed door, you never know what people are enduring. Yet my family
Yeah.
knew that on my father's side that she was beating me up, and even the neighbors called a few times the police, but she had good contacts, a little envelope of money here. And this was back in 1993. So imagine the corruption was more, because now there is like a light on it, and
Yeah.
you could have done things much easier than nowadays. And when
That's
my
just
aunt,
everything being recorded nowadays. Back then, nothing was being recorded.
yes, I mean, many reports weren't even recorded, you know. And
Hmm.
my aunt, who was staying so opposite, my mother's sister, she saw my other 13-year-old niece was being abused by my other aunt's husband. So to cover
You
it
were just
up,
abused all around you.
all around me, and my other niece was also being abused by the neighbor next door. So my father, what did he do? He took my aunt, my mother's sister, to England, dropped her off in the street, and just left her there. We didn't know what happened after all this truth came out. So they told us that my aunt just left us. So imagine as a child, 8.5, and saying like, okay, now she leaves us. Who's going to come and save us from here? And I was worried. I had my sister who was 3 years old. I became her caretaker. I had to dress her up, bring her to school. I mean, like a highway, cross it.
Yeah.
Imagine I was the child having to take care of a child. Even one day I saw my aunt. I was cleaning the kitchen and I hear the scream. I run and I see my aunt holding my sister's head in a boil of soup and drowning her, this, and drowning her in there. So I had to fight with my aunt who hit me then, but I stood like a wall between my sister and my aunt. This was the first time. Every time she wanted to hit her, I came in front. So many hits I took, or if she broke something, you know, she used to throw in the basement. I used to push her to the limit so she will take me instead of my sister.
Yeah.
So many things that happened were very traumatic. And often in the night, I would have nightmares where I would wake up like I was drowning, me was drowning, or I came just a little bit too late to help my sister. And obviously, this kind of traumatic experiences, they're like blurred. I start deleting. This was my cop- coping way, basically, like saying, okay, this can't, and I start deleting. Little
We
did I
have done
knew.
similar things with traumatic experiences, so we fully understand what you're talking about.
Yes, and little did I know that those things that you put away, they are not away. They're
Hmm.
just waiting to pop out.
Right back there.
Yeah. And
I call
very
it
often it comes when you become stable. You know what I mean? Where you actually have the time to think of it.
yeah,
And that's where it
time and the
rush over
capacity to
you.
handle it.
Woo. And I'm getting chills just thinking of it. I remember like my first panic attack, like sitting and doing, like Am I dying? Am I having a heart attack? And it's not like nowadays you open social media and you have everything, uh, panic attack, anxiety, and this and that. Before, there was no social media. Little could you know things on internet, you didn't have all the knowledge you have now. And that's
And
why
most
whenever
people
you
didn't
are
have internet access like you do now.
exactly. So bit by bit, I start tracking the behavior of my aunt and uncle and saying, like, because then her husband started to drink a lot. He was a very kind man. He passed away now, but he became weak with her. And, having a woman or a man that all the time saying you're useless, uh, those kids, those niggers, because she used to call us niggers, did this, it's all their fault. So then he started beating us up, but you could see that he wasn't him. So he started drinking more and more, and behind her back, he used to give like good food because used to give us leftovers, expired food, taking from shops and saying it's for the animals, and she used to give it to us as food. I started
Wow.
stealing money because in the market I had to work from age of 7 till 12, and I tell you why till 12. I started. It was my brother's idea. My brother was always a bit. He was her favorite, the boy, and my sister was my uncle's favorite, the little girl, and I was like the non-loved one. But I was happy because I saw that my brother and sister were more loved. I don't know if you understand. For me, it was a good feeling. I never took them guilt for it. It gave me happiness that they were loved.
Yeah.
And yes, and my brother told me, look, sister, because we were working from 4 in the morning, I had to wake up and starting selling till 2 in the afternoon, pack everything, unpack, and standing there in the market. I was really good in sales. I am still. It's at least something I got out of that experience. And he said, we should pay ourselves because she's not giving us good food and we should pay ourselves. And in the beginning, I felt so bad. I was like, no, we can't steal. My mother taught us, you can't steal this, that, until she started giving us leftovers and expired food and, with mold,
Yeah,
like
you're literally
really,
starving.
yes, putting food behind locks. So things that you see in the movie and you say, no, this didn't happen, this can't be, they're exaggerating. No, it exists. It really exists. So we start stealing money. And on the way to school, we used to buy good sandwiches. And this was like our happy moment. So we started creating our own moments. I don't, and I tell even my clients, I say, if you're going through traumatic experience with your husband, he's cutting off, he wants you to stop working. Honey, start putting money on the side. Make yourself financially independent. You can't depend on anyone financially because you become the slave of the person and you think there is no way out, while there should be a way out.
That's how a
So
lot of narcissists keep their victims.
yes, that's the first classic thing to make them
Financial
dependent.
drain.
Yes,
Yep.
financial. And at the age of 10, when I saw my mother, so my mother visits from 7 till 10, I didn't see my mother. And at the age of 10, she came. I was so angry with her, really angry. And she said, because she didn't know what was happening, and she said, but I sent you for a better life. But I couldn't talk because my aunt obviously groomed and said, if you talk, she's going to leave. So my mother left after that. And few months after she left back to Congo, she stayed 2 weeks and a half, but few months after those 2 weeks and a half, I ran away for the first time. I was beaten up and she was beating my sister and I came in between and I started literally fighting with her. At the age of 10, I was strong. I mean, imagine lifting 20 kilo every weekend and little food. So, and I have African genes. You can say that it is, So the building was like I was very strong. So I start
Yeah.
fighting with her. Her husband came in between, and then both of them were beating me up. So I run away, and yeah, I was in the street. The police found me. They got me back because they knew her, and they said, yes, but your mother. I say, she's not my mother, because my father really obliged us to say she's Mama de Belgique, mother of Belgium, and your mother becomes Mama of Africa. My sister and my brother start calling them like this, but it took me a lot of beatings, to be honest, before I could say it. And then I just had to give up after a year and a half where my mother still didn't come. And when they sent me back, I said to the police, don't you see, I was fully bruised, my lip open. They got her back. I mean, got me back to her. They had a drink with her and they left. And then the beating started. I mean, I didn't work out in school to the gym for like a month and a half. My legs bruised. She had those black sticks, that the police use. That's what she used to use to hit us. My
Oh my
brother came
God.
even jumping. Yes, my brother even came jumping in between. And at age of 12, so it took me then another 2 years almost. At age of 12, I was speaking with my coach because often he saw me, I was doing basketball. So that's the only bonus I got if my sales were high. And the coach say, Pam, you have to wear the team's shorts. And I say, I can't, my legs were fully bruised. He said, no, you need to. I said, no, can I please, keep my trousers on? And then he said, no, you have to remove. So he told me, remove or you're not playing. So I remove, and he saw all the bruises. And that's where I actually opened up and I said, this is going on in. And he said, no, Pam, this is not normal, because imagine you use from age of 7 till 12, beating, sexual abuse, literally pimped out by your own aunt,
Room
where
to
she
think that
received
it's
money
completely
and
normal.
food and stuff, and you hear her laughing and asking, did she behave? Did she do what you ask? And you being terrified, I say, yes, she's good. I will keep her. I mean, that you say, even thinking about it, sometimes I say like, it's crazy, it's really crazy. Even your sexuality in life changed because of this kind of traumas you got.
Yeah,
Your
absolutely it
behavior
does.
changed. How it's a miracle that now I lived with so much shame, thinking it was my fault for a very long time. Even when I was married, I didn't speak to my husband about it because I was so ashamed. And now, okay, he's my ex-husband, so he's actually an some people knew that things were happening, but no one talked, even in the family. No one talked. And then they asked me, so from age of 12, I cut with everyone. I lived in an orphanage and I built myself up. I went to dark episode in my life. Then I heard that my mother passed away at age of 16. And that's where, the anxiety, the panic attacks really exploded, like exploded. I went to drinking, I went to drugs, anything that could numb me. I went in that spiral until I say, no, this is not me. So I really had to find myself. And that was pieces by pieces, picking myself up. I was being a caretaker. So if you've been that all your life, the only thing that actually was keeping me up was my siblings because I couldn't die for them. And I mean, you understand the meaning that, what was keeping me alive was
Yeah,
that. Then I got pregnant at age of 17. I got to know it 6 months and a half during my pregnancy. It's called a denied pregnancy. It's when you had apparently traumatic experiences. Well, I am a good example and candidate for it. Your body to protect it gives you signal like you're not pregnant. I was stomach flat. I had my period. The only way I knew is I fainted because I was working a lot and partying and not really the most healthy lifestyle. And I fainted. And that's where basically the doctor said like a blood test, they couldn't find, like I felt a bit dizzy after that. And they did a blood test. They made me sit down and he said, you are pregnant. I said, excuse me? No, it can't be. I just had my period, last week. He said, no, you're pregnant. And it took me like a week, almost 2 weeks, a week and a half to go to the gynecologist. He said, you have to go see a gynecologist. I said, okay. I went. When they did the ultrasound, I heard the heartbeat. And he said, you're 6 months pregnant, 6 months and a half now. So if you know pregnancy is 9 months, imagine you have, and I just lost my mother a year before without seeing her from age of 10. And with everything that's happened, I was like in shock. I saw the doctor twice when he told me that I was pregnant and when I delivered my daughter. And I literally delivered her in 30 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
Water broke. I didn't know what was, something, I looked, water broke. I remember being with a friend. He got me to the hospital. And 30 minutes after, I stood up. I say, can I have a cigarette now? I was completely in denial. Completely.
Yeah.
Completely in denial. For me, it was my stomach after the 6 months and a half grew. I mean, imagine people, I was size 34. That's the extra small. Flat. And then suddenly, like 2 weeks after, they thought that I was playing, that I had some kind of stomach that I put there, to pretend that I was pregnant. No,
Yeah.
it's like because the doctor said it, and I start like preparing, like buying stuff because, there is a baby arriving.
Yeah.
At the time, I stopped immediately smoking. And when she was there, and the lady of the orphanage, she used to be my caretaker. She came and see me, and I was like, I am a mother, but it was unreal. It was unreal. And I asked so my daughter stayed with me, and at 6 months, little more than 6 months, um, I did a big blockage on that as well. I asked the mother, so her grandmother on her father's side, if she could stay with him because when it was a very, yeah, when you're lost, often you attract lost people. You very often you don't go to people who have a healthy behavior because this is what you're used to. So you attract those kind of people in a way
Yeah.
because you think you're unworthy of a healthy or stable relation, and you go for the excitement, the tension, the because someone nice will be borderline for you boring because you cannot appreciate it because you're used to that fire all the time. And at that time, yeah, sorry,
You crave the chaos.
you crave, that's exactly, you put it perfect. I couldn't say it better. You crave the chaos. And he was also going through his demons, and he lived with me. His mother kicked him out. So I had him to feed, the apartment to pay, all the food to pay, our daughters, everything, the medical expenses, insurance, everything was on me. And then I said, like, I can't take it anymore, I really can't. I even went to like a hospital, where I said, like, I can't take this anymore. And what they did is, behind my back, they went to court and said that I abandoned my child. So imagine that.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
While he was speaking to me, he had drug problems. I was giving him money. I started dancing, and yeah, and bit by bit until I went back to ask like, can I have my daughter back? They say, no, you have to go to court. Imagine I had no one to support me. And it was just like a spiral down. Yeah, this is part of my childhood. It's never easy till age of 18. This all what's going on. At age of 21, I met my ex-husband. Now we stayed for 17 years together. But like I said, you also find someone. He's an amazing man, but he was also has also his baggage, his past, and I had a difficult childhood, and it taught me actually to appreciate in a way the good moments because it was almost like they're not going to last. You hearing me? Yes, they're not going to last. So bit by bit, difficulty came up, and I started to have those dreams, of my childhood back. And he couldn't cope with that even because I didn't tell him my story as well. And when I had my son, that was like, yeah, I always said I asked God the perfect man, and I got my son. My son saved me because I started to be lost again, when I was taking care from age of 21 of two little girls, while I just lost my daughter in terms of they took my daughter from me. I had to see my daughter behind glass like a criminal. I never hit her or abused her or anything. The only guilt that I have was trusting people with, that they would help me because I had zero family. I had my brother and sister also in different orphanage that I was seeing and giving them everything that I could during the weekends, spoiling them with the little that I had. I started braiding hair to make extra money. And it was like a deja vu, a recycle of things happening because my mother, they removed her children from her as well. It was in a way like living a bit of my mother's life. And my ex-husband had two kids. His ex-wife, I mean, she even tried to kick me in the stomach when I was pregnant of 7 months of my son, screaming at me nigger in front of school. The same woman that goes to church and is in politics in France. And even when people ask me, like, do you want to speak, I didn't want to destroy because I don't believe in destroying. I believe like you have to stand for your rights and set your boundaries. And yeah, it's part of my marriage that also got lost because I lost respect of my ex-husband for that because he couldn't protect me for I didn't make children with her. So I am there to support, but things, and that's very crazy that we accept things, so many things, and think and wish for the better. It's like we going for gambling. It's safer to use Russian roulette, put a gun against your head and turn it, until maybe the bullet will come out. Well, when you stay in situation and accept certain things, you giving yourself away, you losing you. At what cost and for what in the end? For what? And we women, we are like programmed. I see many women, we are like programmed and take things, a little insult. Oh, you're this, you're that. And you just shut your mouth and you sink and hide yourself. You know what I tell people now when they tell me you're this? I say, did I ask your opinion? No. I tell them, did I ask your opinion? No, why? I say exactly. I didn't ask your opinion. So if I'm shining too much for you, put your fucking sunglasses on because I'm not going to dim my light. The sun doesn't give a fuck when it blinds you. So I am not going to give a fuck when I blind you. So turn around, keep your little small minded comment for yourself because I don't. And sometimes even your friends that you think, oh, she's my friend. You ask yourself these things. How many times that friend was there for you? How many times when you were on your lowest, you pick up your phone and call that friend? Would you ask your life advice from this friend? If the answer is no, you know what you do? Tell them to shut their mouth because I say that. I don't, no, no. Or they having those small talks. I say, listen, my mind has so many things that I want actually to put in there that are healthy. And those kind of conversation, actually, I'm deleting them. And then they look at me, oh, but you being like mean. I say, no, actually, you gossip. I have no time for that. I don't want to hear who's wearing this underwear or which car or what their husband did. You want to speak about this person? Go straight to the person. Speak to the person. Don't come and tell me about their life because I literally don't give a damn about it. I have enough with mine. And very often we all have this person. I mean, I don't have those anymore, who come to you and always has an issue, always has an issue. Have the courage to say, like, honey, maybe that issue is you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, typically it is them.
Yes, because you can't have issues all the time. I had a childhood that I could be a horrible person, someone who's all the time bitter and not wishing others well. No, I transform my pain into a purpose. And my purpose was me living my life, me.
Oh, hold on. You stopped recording for some reason. Right when you're saying the great stuff, you know? All right, we're good. Cool. Okay, you were talking friends. Not all friends.
Yeah, not all friends are good, you know. We often keep people out of loyalty, but you have
Mm.
to understand what loyalty is because loyalty can be your prison as well. People change. So are you. So if you evolving and wanting to be the better version of yourself, you have people, they're very comfortable or they're too afraid for change and they stay in the old habits. So they will expect things that are no longer aligned with the person you are now. And you have to be very aware of it. Or they will give you advice out of their fear to lose you or have less access to you. Like, I've seen it many times. Someone meets a partner and the friend is a bit jealous because she doesn't have the same access to her girlfriend anymore. Or, the opposite. So there are many hidden agendas, I would say, with a lot of people. And you have to make the difference. And for that, I always ask myself, if something happened to me, who would I call to go get my son? If you have 5 people on that list, you're one of the richest persons in your world, in your life.
Yeah, for
Honestly,
sure. Yeah.
like tomorrow you have nothing. Who you gonna call to go home to that person? Who do you call who doesn't ask you a question and say, come, or where should I come? These people, those are your people. All the rest, they're acquaintance. Don't call them friends. Make the difference between friends and acquaintance.
Yes,
There's
yeah,
some people, they're very nice, to have a drink with them and smile. And, when you want something light. So if it's something to have something light with those, don't put them when you are becoming the person you want to become. Like when you get stable in your life, because you didn't get it delivered at your door. It takes a lot to want to make a change. It takes a lot to overcome traumas. It takes a lot to get out of an abusive relationship. Very often, people smile. I used to wear a mask for years. Why? Because I was forced to wear that mask. No one wants to see someone suffering. Everyone wants seeing everyone happy. You know, it's like a taboo when you cry. Some people even get very uncomfortable when you
Yes.
cry. Very uncomfortable. They almost don't know what to do. It's like you asking them for €1 million. That uncomfortable.
Hmm.
And I just learned that mask we had to put and we were wearing, at least I can speak for me, I was wearing for so many years, fitting in with everyone. I mean, not everyone, because I started building my own character, but the people I love, I will love them blindly. So much that I was putting me on the side. But that's not love. Love needs balance. I don't say you keep a diary like you give me this and I give you that. I don't say that. But the minimum, if I'm there for you, the minimum I expect from you is to pick up your phone and say, "Hey, Pam, how are you today?" I'm good. Okay. Are you really? If I insist and say, "Yeah, I'm really good," just know I'm here in case you need. So, what are you going to do today? Small things, checking out on the person. You know, you don't need to buy expensive stuff, but surprise them. Have a coffee, pick them up from work. Hey, I'm here. Give them a hug. Because very often we feel isolated, even now, and especially people who had traumatic experiences. They've been putting themselves away for so long, so long, they
Yes.
even forget their own name.
Yep.
They forget what they love, what their joy is. Why? They get fulfillment helping others. Why they needed that help? They're giving so much, and people see them to me like, oh, but I had one of the person that I say like, enough now. You know what they say? But Pam, you should have told me because you never complained. So yeah, I didn't think I was doing wrong. Yeah, but this kind of relation
It is
and
very common. It's
results.
very common for people
Yeah,
to not realize that they need to put into a relationship just, friendship, whatever it is, however much you're wanting out of it, you need to put into it. Yes. Or more.
exactly. It's giving and taking.
Hmm.
It's like a scale. If it's like this, it never hold. It will being unbalanced,
Yes, exactly. And then the
S-
person that's being the unbalanced is the one that's always giving and never receiving.
and never receiving. And you have to know, where this come from. And some people, you can have a friend who had an amazing childhood. And the thing is, if you receive everything from your parents, it's also a handicap because you think the world is a happy place. The world is Disneyland because everyone will be nice with you. It's not,
Wrong.
it's wrong. And I learned out of abuse. Other will learn out of their handicap will be being too loved. So they expect their friends to be always there for them. They expect everyone to like bend for their needs.
Hmm.
But it's not like this. So even as a parent, you have a responsibility to teach your children that they have to become responsible adults and not.
Yes.
If they leave, my son is 12 and I have a lady who comes and clean my house. If he leaves his underwear on the floor, I tell the lady, you are not picking up his stuff. Huh? Even in a hotel, I pick up my stuff and put them back.
Yeah.
Why? If I'm teaching him like someone else will pick it up, what do you think he expect if I didn't have a cleaner? That his mommy will do it. And if his mommy don't do it when he grows up, who's gonna do it? His wife or his partner?
Hmm.
And I'm sorry, you programming them to something that will make them actually long term unhappy. And you think like I do everything for my kids. Well, no, you're giving them a massive handicap, a massive one,
A massive.
a very. And I always say a frustrated child is a happy adult. And what do I mean with that? When you receive no's when you're a child, and God knows how many no's I received. That's why I'm so stubborn. Every no, it's like for me a challenge. And
Mm-hmm.
if, I had so many doors closed. I used to be a cleaner. I used to babysit. I used to clean toilets in festival. I used to be a dancer. I used to be a model. Then I was a business. I am still a business owner. And now I'm an author. And one thing I learned, I one day I was sitting and say, people told me, well, like, Pam, you had really horrible, and then you only apart a horrible childhood. I said, I don't think it's that horrible in the end. Of course, it's hard, the things I happen. But I decided not that it wouldn't break me or define me. I decide when you're a child and you're receiving hits, you can do a lot. But when you're an adult and you use excuses to stay low, that's your fault. That's your
Yeah.
responsibility. You have to fight and having the willpower to really go and say, I am not what happened to me, because you can change your life. You can turn that pain, like I said, into purpose and to power, because you have to have a clear plan. And for that, you have to know who you are, where you came from. And by that is revisiting your past and having in a clear mind, what do I want to do in my life? And you can start very easy by saying, look, I am good in cleaning, example. If you're good in cleaning,
Wow.
why don't you start doing that as a job? Some people enjoy cleaning and there is nothing. We need people in different sectors. Some will say, I'm good in drawing, like an artist. So why don't you go look for jobs that are like artistic? Others will tell you,
Share
I'm
screen.
good in, hello?
So, y'all, we're going to let y'all know that with this recording, we had some technical difficulties, and we did have Pamela come back and do another recording with us, and we plan on having her multiple more times. So, we know that it cut off at a very, very great and wonderful thing that she was saying, and I don't even think we even finished getting that out of her. Not even in our second recording. But we plan on having her back on multiple accounts. Please we do apologize, and please accept our apology on the lack of knowledge in technology for us. And come back to our next recording with Pamela. She hits a lot of great points, and we hope that everybody continues to follow us with Looking Through the Glass and deals with our magnificent
Love us. No.
and deals with our magnificent knowledge in technology, as we are great at this. But
We'll keep putting that phrase in there.
yeah,
We'll keep saying those mantras. We are great at technology. We are great at technology.
yeah, we all know we're not. But we appreciate everybody who keeps coming through. And like I said, we go look at our next episode that's going to be coming out in the following week. And hopefully, like I said, she comes back. Thank y'all.